Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and in this video I want to give you a little update on what is going on with my type rating. A lot of you have asked me this question over the past couple of weeks, and I do apologize for staying a little silent about it. Ultimately, I had to focus on the training, and I wanted to be sure that I'm not posting anything that I wouldn't be allowed to post and so on. After all, I came from an airline that had a very restrictive social media policy, so being a little bit careful is better than regretting it in the aftermath. In any case, so what has been going on over the past couple of months? Well, I started 2 months back from the time I'm recording this. It's probably going to be released a couple of days later. And initially we just started with a theory where we learned all the nifty, nice little stuff about the Airbus. Now, my favorite little thing there, coming from flight simulation and having a little previous idea, is probably how you can still access the system displays when the lower ECAM screen is failed. So if I just about turn this off, then you can still access them by pressing and holding them, and then they're going to show on the upper ECAM. Obviously, you could also simply transfer them to the navigation display, but hey, that kind of takes the fun of it, doesn't it? In any case, let's now talk a little bit about my impressions of the rating and how things went, and maybe also the influence that flight simulation had on it. So, my impression first of all, I can't name you the new airline that I'm flying for just now, so if you know from any previous content or if you've been able to figure it out, then please be so kind and not talk about it, as, well, I'm simply not allowed to. However, the instructors have been really good, and we are a pretty small course, meaning that we get a lot of direct attention from the instructors themselves. So it's a really good environment to learn. Now, from here on, you know that I'm doing the rating on the Airbus A330 aircraft, and from here on you can be sure that I'm going to put a lot of my newly gained knowledge into creating videos that are going to show you techniques of flying the Airbus and some non-normal operations and so on. So there will be quite a lot of content coming up in the style of my 737 videos, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to enjoy. Now, if you're not an Airbus fan at this point, then maybe the content over the next couple of weeks is not going to be that much for you. However, rest assured, I am also creating some new content featuring non-Airbus aircraft, and I am doing mixed content between Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane. On that topic, a lot of you have asked me, why do I do so many X-Plane videos these days? Well, first of all, obviously it is something new for me, and something new is always something exciting. And I really like the simulator, and I really like the possibilities it offers. So, yeah, the toeless Airbuses are absolutely great. They have their own strength compared to the Fenix, which obviously is doing better in other parts as well. So, my upcoming videos will be somewhat of a mixture between the toeless Airbuses and the Fenix, with the focus obviously being on the toeless A340-600, which is closest to the A330 that I'm doing my type rating on. So pretty much most manual handling stuff is going to be based on the A340, as it simply comes the closest. Now, X-Plane doesn't look as pretty, but nonetheless it's doing an awesome job in terms of flight dynamics, and toeless did an awesome job on them and on the systems as well. So for that reason, that is what we are going to go for. Now, a little bit further information of what is going on with my rating. So overall, a type rating takes something about 2.5 to 3 months to complete if you have previous airline experience. If you have that, you are going to, well, have a good time. Now, you do need to spend a lot of time practicing and learning, and part of that, for me, certainly has been creating the videos that I am about to release. So I have created like 30 of them by now, but I really wanted to be sure not to release any nonsense, because Do remember, a type rating is a learning environment, and ultimately, as we say in German, es ist noch kein Meister vom Himmel gefallen. No master ever flew from the sky. Kinda like that. Which basically means that, obviously, at first you simply have to learn and you have to practice, and just like in driving school, when you start with the initial lessons in the type rating, there is also a lot of new stuff that you are going to learn, and you aren't going to be a perfect pilot on the plane right from the first lesson onwards. Now, don't get me wrong there, you are also not going to be a perfect pilot on the plane after the type rating, because after the type rating comes the line training. Now, line training is something that you guys will not be as familiar with, because it is something that in flight simulation just doesn't get that much of an interest. Line training basically means that you are fully qualified to fly the airplane, so you did all the normal procedures and all the non-normal procedures in your type rating, and you have an understanding of them, and the line training gets you in at a point where you are fully qualified to fly the airplane, where you are competent to fly the airplane, but you don't yet have that experience of how to put everything you learned in the type rating into practice. And that is where you will be put together with a line training captain, so with an especially trained captain, who is going to, let's say, put all the links together in how things work. And that's going to start in the second half of August for me. So that is also the point in time where I'm going to fly the real A330 for the very first time. Alright, and you can be absolutely sure that there will be updates for that. For now, I have to prepare for a couple more lessons. I still have the last couple of them ahead of me, and then I'm going to go for the skill test, which is where, well, it's kind of like the test for your driver's license, just a little bit more complex. So some of you may be wondering, what does a typical day and what does a typical lesson in the type rating look like? Well, we obviously have the syllabus where everything we're going to learn on the particular day in question is going to be contained, so we can prepare ahead of the session. It also tells us, for example, in this session you will have the following malfunctions, so we can read up on them, we can study the Flight Crew Techniques Manual, FCTM. Yes, Airbus actually calls it Techniques Manual, not Training Manual. So where we can study that so that we go well prepared into the sessions. From there on, we are going to start with a briefing that's typically 90 minutes. 90, not 19. And in that briefing, the instructor is going to go over all the points. We can ask all our questions and so on. And then we go into the simulator, which typically is a 4-hour session. And in that 4-hour session, you get 2 hours as pilot flying and 2 hours as pilot monitoring, where you get to practice all the stuff that you talked about previously in the briefing. And that is concluded by a roughly 30-minute debriefing, where the instructor is going to go over all the typical things that you already know, like how did you feel, is there stuff that you have questions on, and then obviously the instructor is going to perform some grading as well, tell you what you can improve on for the next session, and so on. And that's what a typical day looks like. Now, that process takes round about 2 months in the simulator. So roughly 2 months where you are being trained to practically fly the airplane, and prior to that you have 1 month of theory, which is usually split into something like 2 weeks of self-study or 2.5 weeks, where they give you some computer-based training, and then about 1.5 weeks of training directly with instructors in a classroom, where they'll make sure that you've understood everything correctly in the computer-based stuff, and where stuff like performance training and so on is performed. Alright guys, now I really have to go back to learning, and I really have to go back to study for my next lesson, which is going to be in roughly, I think that's 13 hours from now. So I am very much looking forward to that. It's going to be dual hydraulics and rapid decompression that's going to happen in this one. So quite some complex stuff there. and I'm very much looking forward to it. The last thing, and probably the most important of all, you always say flying has to be fun, and I tell you it is a heck lot of fun. It really is. I'm going to take you along on the adventure with some separate videos where I'm going to feature a lot of the content that we do in the rating. However, unfortunately, it is not allowed to film in the type rating, otherwise I would have loved to do it, but for reasons that I can absolutely understand, they say that now we prefer if you do that stuff on the flight simulator rather than do it in the real flight simulator. Alright then guys, thank you very much for watching. I absolutely hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, do let me know in the comments below, and if you're eager for more, you can be absolutely sure that you are going to get that. Thank you very much for watching. I see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, have a great day wherever you currently are, and I see you all again in the very soon future. Thank you.